right, so today we're going to kind of deep dive into something I think you're clearly interested in.
Okay.
Food safety and quality standards,
Yeah.
specifically in the UK.
Yeah.
We've got some sources lined up, and
Yeah.
I think they reveal some pretty interesting stuff.
Cool.
Like, for example, did you know that there are companies out there that basically guarantee a smooth certification process for food businesses?
Interesting.
It kind of makes you wonder, like, why they feel the need to stress that so much, right?
Yeah.
And then there's this whole concept of a product safety and quality culture, which
yeah.
sounds a bit like corporate jargon, but it's actually a pretty big deal.
Okay.
Luckily, we've got our expert here
Yeah.
who eats, sleeps, and breathes food safety and compliance.
All right.
So what do you make of this whole emphasis on certifications and this culture, especially in the context of the UK?
Well, I think it's really fascinating because it speaks to a couple of things.
Okay.
First, I think the UK food industry is incredibly competitive. And so companies are constantly looking for ways to kind of differentiate themselves and build trust with consumers.
Right.
And certifications provide that third-party validation that can be so valuable in a crowded marketplace.
Yeah.
And second, I think there's a growing awareness among consumers about the importance of food safety and quality. People are asking more questions about where their food comes from, how it's produced.
Yeah.
So companies are responding by really emphasizing their commitment to these standards.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's dive into our first source here.
Okay.
The Global Standard for Food Safety document.
All right.
Now, this document really hammers home the importance of senior management commitment, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It does.
Uh-huh.
Clause 1.1.1 is very clear about that.
Okay.
It states that food businesses need a documented policy signed by top management outlining their commitment to safe, legal, and authentic products.
Okay, so they can't just pay lip service to it. They've got to, like, put it in writing and have the big bosses sign off on it.
Exactly.
But it goes beyond just the signature, right?
Yes.
Definitely. What really stood out to me was this phrase, continual improvement.
Yes.
I'm curious, what does that look like in practice for a food business?
Yeah.
We're not just talking about checking off boxes on an inspection form, are we?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
It's a much more dynamic process.
Okay.
Think of it like this. Companies need to be actively looking for ways to improve their food safety practices,
Okay.
not just reacting to problems when they arise.
Okay.
The document provides some really concrete examples of what this might involve.
Yeah.
For instance, developing a strong food safety culture within the company, establishing regular review processes and meetings, and really diving into data analysis.
Right.
You know, tracking things like customer complaints to identify patterns that might indicate potential issues.
So they're almost treating food safety like a detective novel, searching for clues and trying to predict where the next problem might pop up.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
It's all about being proactive. And that also means staying up to date with the latest regulations and best practices and embracing preventative action strategies to avoid issues before they even occur.
So this sounds like a major shift for a lot of companies.
It is.
Moving from a reactive to a proactive approach.
Right.
It almost feels like they're trying to create like a safety-first mindset throughout the entire company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where that phrase product safety and quality culture comes into play.
Okay.
It's about weaving food safety into the very fabric of the company.
So it's not just about following the rules. It's about building a company culture where food safety is everyone's responsibility.
Yes.
And a top priority.
It's a whole different way of thinking.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue to our second source here. UK Food Technology Service Consultancy.
Okay.
It's fascinating how they position themselves almost like a guide through this often complex world of food certifications. I mean, they really emphasize how they can help businesses achieve the certificate smoothly, confidently, and no hassles.
Yeah.
They seem to be tapping into a real need for support in this area.
Absolutely. And I think their marketing reflects something very important.
Okay.
The complexity of the certification process can be daunting.
Yeah.
Even for companies that are genuinely committed to food safety.
Right.
Think about all the different standards out there.
Yeah.
BRCGS, SALSA, RSPO, organic certification, Red Tractor Assurance, and so on.
It's a lot to navigate.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It can be really confusing.
It's like a whole alphabet soup of acronyms. Each one represents a different set of standards and requirements.
Exactly.
It's no wonder companies might feel overwhelmed.
It's understandable, and that's where a consultancy like this can be so valuable.
Okay.
They provide that expertise and guidance to help businesses understand the requirements, implement the necessary systems, and ultimately achieve certification without pulling their hair out.
So let's talk about these certifications themselves.
All right.
We see them everywhere on food packaging.
Yeah.
But do they really matter?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I mean, what do they actually tell us about a company's commitment to food safety?
Well, it goes beyond just ticking boxes for compliance.
Okay.
These certifications actually serve a few crucial purposes.
Okay.
Firstly, they can be essential for meeting retailer demands.
Oh.
Many large retailers require their suppliers to hold certain certifications as a condition of doing business with them.
Oh, so it's like a kind of quality control for retailers?
Exactly. They want to make sure that all the products on their shelves meet a certain standard.
Gotcha.
But it goes beyond that.
Yeah.
Certifications also play a huge role in building consumer trust.
Right.
When you see a certification logo on a product, it signals that the company has undergone a rigorous third-party audit to verify their compliance with specific standards.
It's like a shortcut for consumers to kind of assess a company's commitment to food safety.
Exactly.
We might not have the time or the expertise to audit every company ourselves, but we can rely on these certifications as a proxy.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's the international trade aspect.
Right.
Certain certifications can be essential for accessing new markets.
Yeah.
For example, if a UK company wants to export their products to the EU, they might need to obtain specific certifications that demonstrate compliance with EU regulations.
So certifications open doors to new markets and customers.
Yes.
It's almost like a passport for food products.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it all circles back to that idea of product safety and quality culture. Companies that invest in building that culture are much more likely to successfully achieve and maintain these certifications.
Right.
It's not about just going through the motions.
Yeah.
It's about genuinely embracing those standards and integrating them into their daily operations.
So it sounds like a virtuous cycle.
It is.
A strong internal commitment to food safety leads to successful certification.
Yes.
Which in turn opens up new opportunities and builds consumer trust.
Right.
But we've only just scratched the surface of what product safety and quality culture really entails.
Definitely.
So let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and really unpack that concept.
Sounds good.
Exploring what it means for both businesses and consumers.
All right.
So we've talked about senior management commitment and the role of these certifications in the food industry.
Yeah.
But now let's really get into the heart of it.
Okay.
This idea of a product safety and quality culture.
Right.
What exactly does that mean? And why should you, as our listener, even care?
That's a great question, and it's one that's really worth exploring in depth.
Right.
Because the word culture can sometimes sound a bit abstract and intangible.
Yeah.
But in the context of food safety, it's anything but.
I think a lot of people might assume that food safety is all about regulations and inspections and checklists. But you're suggesting it's something much deeper than that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A true product safety and quality culture is about going beyond simply meeting those minimum requirements.
Okay.
It's about creating an environment where food safety is woven into the DNA of the company.
Okay.
Where everyone from the CEO to the line worker feels a sense of ownership and responsibility.
So it's almost like a collective mindset.
Yes.
A shared understanding that food safety is everyone's business.
Exactly. And this is where the UK Food Technology Service Consultancy comes into play again.
Okay.
It's interesting how they not only help companies navigate that certification process, but they also actively promote this idea of building a culture of excellence.
They seem to recognize that it's not just about checking boxes on a form.
Right.
It's about really instilling values and practices that make food safety a core part of the company's identity.
And they offer a range of services to support this.
Okay.
Going beyond just audit preparation.
Yeah.
They provide training workshops and consultancy services designed to empower food businesses to really embrace these standards.
It's almost like they're saying, hey, we'll help you become the best version of yourselves, food safety-wise.
Exactly. And that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
When a company genuinely invests in fostering this kind of culture, it has a ripple effect that extends far beyond the walls of the factory or the processing plant.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How so?
Well, for starters, think about the employees.
Okay.
When employees see that their company takes food safety seriously, it creates a sense of pride and ownership in their work.
Right.
They're more likely to be engaged, motivated, and vigilant.
So it's not just about avoiding penalties or bad press. It's about creating a work environment where employees feel valued and empowered to contribute to a common goal.
And that translates into higher quality products and a more robust food safety system.
Right.
But it goes even further than that.
Okay.
Think about the company's suppliers.
Yeah.
When a company has high standards, it sets the bar for everyone in their supply chain.
So they're not just focusing on their own internal operations, they're also influencing the practices of their suppliers.
Exactly. They might require their suppliers to meet certain standards, provide training, or even conduct audits.
Gotcha.
And that ripple effect continues all the way to the retailers and ultimately to us, the consumers.
So let's bring it back to the consumer.
Right.
How does all of this affect me when I'm standing in the grocery aisle trying to decide what to buy?
That's where transparency comes in.
Okay.
Remember those certifications we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Those BRCGS, Salsa Organic logos?
Yeah.
They provide a crucial window into a company's commitment to food safety and quality.
So by choosing products with those certifications, I'm essentially supporting companies that have gone the extra mile to ensure the safety of their products.
Exactly. You're voting with your wallet, so to speak.
Okay.
And sending a message that you value these standards.
Yeah.
And that can have a really powerful impact on the industry as a whole.
It's like we as consumers hold a piece of the puzzle.
We do.
Our choices can actually influence the practices of the food industry.
They can.
But I think there's still a lot of confusion out there about what these certifications actually mean and how they're enforced.
That's a fair point. It's not always easy to decipher the alphabet soup of certifications and standards.
Right.
But that's where informed consumerism comes in.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to do your research.
Yeah.
Visit company websites or even reach out to them directly and ask questions.
So it's about taking an active role.
It is.
In understanding where our food comes from and how it's produced.
Absolutely.
It's empowering to know that we have the power to make informed choices.
It is. And as consumers become more knowledgeable and more demanding, companies are forced to respond by being more transparent and accountable.
Right.
It creates this positive feedback loop that can drive real change within the industry.
That's a really encouraging thought.
It is.
But let's zoom back in on this product safety and quality culture idea.
Okay.
What does that look like in action?
Yeah.
What are some tangible things that companies do to actually cultivate this culture?
That's a great question. And the answer is it's multifaceted.
Okay.
It's not just about implementing a set of rules. It's about fostering a mindset where food safety is woven into every aspect of the operation.
Okay. Paint me a picture.
Okay.
What would I see if I walked into a company with a strong food safety culture?
Well, first and foremost, you'd see leadership that walks the talk.
Okay.
Senior management needs to be fully committed to food safety.
Yeah.
And demonstrate that commitment in their actions and decisions.
So it's not just about writing a policy and sticking on the wall. It's about leading by example.
Exactly. And that means allocating the resources, the time, the money, the personnel to make food safety a reality.
Right.
It means investing in training, creating clear communication channels, and fostering a culture of open dialogue where employees feel comfortable raising concerns without fear of retribution.
That's a really important point.
It is.
It's about creating a culture of trust and transparency.
Absolutely. And that transparency extends beyond the walls of the company.
Okay.
Companies with strong food safety cultures are often very open about their practices.
Yeah.
They provide information to consumers about their sourcing, their processing, their safety protocols.
Right.
They understand that transparency builds trust and confidence.
It's like they're saying, we're proud of our commitment to food safety.
Yes.
And we want you to know all about it.
Exactly. And that kind of openness can be really powerful in building brand loyalty and consumer confidence.
So we've talked about the role of leadership, transparency, and open communication.
Yes.
What are some other key ingredients in this culture recipe?
Well, training is obviously crucial.
Okay.
Not just for new hires, but for everyone in the company.
Right.
Regular training programs help keep employees up to date on the latest best practices, the regulations, and emerging risks.
And it's not just about sitting through boring PowerPoint presentations, right?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Effective training engages employees
Yeah.
and makes learning fun and memorable. Companies are getting creative, using interactive methods, case studies, even games, to reinforce those food safety principles.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Make it fun, make it relevant,
Yeah.
and make it stick.
Exactly.
What else?
Another key ingredient is communication.
Okay.
Open and transparent communication is essential for creating a culture where food safety is everyone's responsibility.
Okay, break that down for me. What does that look like in practice?
It means establishing clear channels for reporting potential hazards or near misses.
Okay.
It means creating a culture where employees feel comfortable speaking up if they see something that could be a risk without fear of repercussions.
So it's about creating an environment where people feel empowered to raise concerns and contribute to that collective goal of food safety.
Exactly. And that communication needs to flow both top down and bottom up.
Okay.
Management needs to clearly communicate expectations and provide regular updates.
Yeah.
But they also need to be receptive to feedback and suggestions from employees at all levels.
It sounds like it's all about creating a sense of shared responsibility.
It is.
Everyone has a role to play in ensuring food safety.
Right.
And everyone's voice should be heard.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's a collective effort, a team sport.
I'm starting to see how this all ties together.
Yeah.
A strong food safety culture is built on a foundation of leadership, transparency, communication training.
Yeah.
And a shared sense of responsibility.
Yes.
It's not just about following rules.
Yeah.
It's about creating a mindset where everyone is engaged and invested in producing safe, high-quality food.
And that mindset can have a profound impact.
Okay.
Not just on the company itself, but on the entire food system.
Right.
It's a ripple effect that can create a safer, healthier, and more sustainable food future for everyone.
Yeah. But we haven't even touched upon how these concepts apply to you, the listener, in your own home.
That's an incredibly important question and one that we'll definitely delve into after a quick break, so stay with us.
So we've been talking about this product safety and quality culture, at the company level.
Right.
But it's easy to forget that food safety starts at home.
It is.
We might not have, official certifications hanging up in our kitchens.
Right.
But the principles are just as relevant.
They are, absolutely.
What would you say?
It's easy to get a little complacent in our own kitchens, but the truth is, that's where most cases of foodborne illness actually originate.
Yeah, that's true.
We might not be dealing with industrial scale production.
Right.
But those basic principles of food safety, things like hand washing, temperature control, preventing cross-contamination, those are crucial, no matter how many people you're cooking for.
It's a good reminder that we all have a responsibility to handle food safely.
We do.
I know I've been guilty of cutting corners in my own kitchen from time to time.
Of course, yeah.
Maybe leaving something out on the counter a little too long,
Yeah.
or not being as diligent about washing my hands as I should be.
We've all been there, I think.
Yeah.
But the more we understand about those potential risks,
Right.
the more likely we are to take those extra precautions.
Yeah.
It's not about being paranoid.
Right.
It's about being informed
Yeah.
and making those conscious choices to protect ourselves and our families.
So let's kind of translate some of these company-level concepts.
It's into some practical tips for our listeners.
Right.
If we want to create a food safety culture in our own kitchens,
Yeah.
where do we even begin?
Well, I think first things first, hand washing.
Okay.
It sounds so basic,
Yeah.
but it's truly the cornerstone of food safety.
Okay.
Wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water before handling any food,
Mm-hmm.
after handling raw meat or poultry,
Right.
after using the bathroom,
Okay.
and anytime you touch your face, your phone, or your pet.
It's easy to forget how many things we touch throughout the day
It is.
that could potentially transfer bacteria to our food.
Exactly. And those few seconds that you spend washing your hands
Right.
can make all the difference in preventing the spread of harmful germs.
Okay, so hand washing is a must.
Yes.
What else?
Temperature control is another big one.
That's
Make
great.
sure your refrigerator is set at 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below to slow down bacterial growth.
And when you're cooking, use a food thermometer to ensure that meat, poultry, and fish are cooked to the proper internal temperature.
Yeah.
Don't rely on guesswork or the touch test.
Right.
A food thermometer is a really simple tool that can eliminate a lot of risk.
No more cutting into the chicken to see if it's pink anymore.
Exactly.
Food thermometer takes the guesswork out
It does.
and gives you peace of mind.
It does.
What about cross-contamination?
Okay.
Any tips on how to avoid that?
This is where those separate cutting boards come in.
Okay.
Use one cutting board for raw meat and poultry.
Right.
And another one for ready-to-eat foods like fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
And don't forget about utensils.
Yeah.
Don't use the same knife to cut raw chicken and then chop up your salad.
Right.
Always wash your cutting boards, your knives, and your countertops thoroughly with hot soapy water after they come into contact with raw meat.
It's those little things, that make the biggest difference sometimes.
They do.
Yeah. I think a lot of us have developed habits in the kitchen that we don't even think about.
We do.
But being more mindful of these potential points of cross-contamination can make a huge difference.
It can.
So speaking of habits, let's talk about expiration dates.
Okay.
Pay attention to those use-by dates on your food, and don't be afraid to toss something out if it's past its prime.
Yeah.
It might look and smell okay.
It might.
But it's just not worth the risk.
Better safe than sorry, right?
Exactly.
When in doubt, throw it out.
Yeah.
There's no need to play food roulette with your health.
I like that.
Uh-huh.
So we've covered hand washing, temperature control, cross-contamination, and expiration dates.
We have.
Anything else we should be thinking about?
Proper storage is also key.
Okay.
Store raw meat, poultry, and fish on the bottom shelf of the refrigerator.
Right.
So juices don't drip onto other foods.
Yeah.
And be sure to store leftovers in airtight containers and refrigerate them promptly.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these small changes in our habits can make such a big difference.
It is.
In terms of food safety.
It's all about building those good habits.
Right.
And the best part is, once you make these practices a habit, they become second nature.
You don't even have to think about it.
Exactly. You don't have to think about them. You just do them.
It's like building a food safety autopilot for your kitchen.
I love that.
Right.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Your food safety autopilot will help keep you and your loved ones safe and healthy.
Well, this has been such an eye-opening conversation.
It has.
We've gone from these high-level concepts of product safety and quality culture in the food industry, all the way down to practical tips for our own kitchens.
Yeah, it's amazing how it all connects.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating how interconnected it all is.
It is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of food safety, remember, it's not just about regulations and certifications, right? It's about personal responsibility awareness and a commitment to doing things the right way.
It is.
Both at home and in the wider food system, our choices and actions have a ripple effect.
They do.
So by making informed decisions and practicing safe food handling habits, we can all contribute to a safer, healthier food future.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of food safety.
Thanks for having me.
And a huge thank you to our expert for sharing their incredible knowledge and insights.
It was my pleasure.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay safe.